The sun is shining, there's blue sky and clouds, it's very spring-like. So I thought, why not use my spring mug? We're in March now. I know it's not until near the end of March when the clocks do their thing and it's the spring solstice or whatever it's called. But I'm bringing my spring stuff out now because I am autistic. I am not going to do it in the middle of the month. It's going to be the start of the month, okay? So there we go. And as usual, it's sugar-free caramel coffee. It's not a latte because it's homemade stuff, so right. So hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I am Molly and I do book content here on YouTube. I do a mixture of Christian books as well as non-Christian because I am one, and I do a mixture of fiction and non-fiction, which I think I said, I can't remember now. Anyway, non-fiction is usually a bit less. I take a bit longer with that. But today, as I'm sure you've heard me reference, we're in March. And that means it's the February wrap up. And I am amazed with how much I read. Now, technically one book I started pretty much at the end of February and I just finished it last night. But I'm going to count it because I need to. And you'll know why when I show it. Although if you've seen my thumbnail, you probably can guess which book that is. So yes, let's get to it because oh my goodness, have I got stuff to talk about, which isn't unusual. I'm not going in any particular order. I'm just going to do it in terms of what I've written down in my reading journal, which I think is technically in order of when I read them, from the looks of things, but yes. Let's get to it. I'm going to have a mixture of physical and non-physical books, and obviously I will tell you whether any of them are audio or not. So the first book is the only non-fiction that I have read. Well, I started this before February, but I finished it in February, and that is The Battlefield of the Mind by Joyce Meyer. This is a Christian non-fiction, and it's basically about the mental struggles of people, and it's not just things like anxiety or things like that. It's also things like anger. It talks about impatience and just negative thoughts in general, and she talks about how to kind of change your thought patterns with scripture, and so it's very Christian based. It's not a general change your mind sort of thing, although obviously they're all based on the same things, so I'm sure there will be similarities. So she tackles quite a wide range of subjects. She talks about, having, doubts and self-esteem, all sorts of things, and different thought patterns, which she called wilderness mentalities. So things like, I don't deserve God's blessing because I'm not worthy. She talks about my behaviour may be wrong, but it's not my fault. So things like that. It's really good. I didn't find it as beneficial as others might, mainly because certainly at the time of reading this, so obviously, things like the thoughts, I'm sure they can change depending on what's going on in your life. But at the time of reading this, I found it beneficial with some things. Some things I could appreciate it and see how loads of people would benefit from this. It didn't impact me as much because I didn't need as much help as some people, certainly at the time of reading this. That could change. It's certainly something that you might want to pick up, every so often and read, reread it sort of thing. But I can definitely see how this would be really beneficial if you have a lot of trouble with your thoughts, with your mental health, things like that. I think it'll be really, really beneficial. There's also a Bible that comes with it, which is the Battlefield of the Mind Bible. You don't have to get them both. I don't think I have it. or maybe I do, but I bought this at a charity shop, so I didn't buy them together, so I bought this really cheap. I think I got it for like £2. I know it was written down somewhere, but maybe not anymore. I can't remember. But also in my copy, because it was secondhand, the previous owner did a little bit of writing. You can't really tell because it's in pencil, but she wrote just a few notes, not very many. But yes, I've really enjoyed Joyce Meyer's non-fiction books. I say non-fiction, she doesn't write fiction. Yeah, I thought it was really good. It's definitely beneficial for a lot of people, and I can see why it's a popular book. Yeah, that's all I've written down in my journal. So yeah, that's good. I know I have my yearly challenges and stuff like that. I will go through all that at the end. Okay. The next book I have to talk about is one of the ebooks that I read, and that is A Thieving Curse by Selena, is it R. Gonzalez? Yeah, R. Gonzalez. She is a Christian author, but her books are more on, well, I say books, I've only read the one book. So this book is more on the clean than the Christian side. There are definitely Christian ideals and how you treat people and how you act, but there wasn't any allegory or any actual other faith content. So it was just clean. But I really, really enjoyed it. It was a 5-star. Oh, I forgot to say. The Joyce Meyer book was 4 stars. Forgot to say that. So A Thieving Curse, I gave 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. It was hilarious. It was really sweet. The romance was lovely. And A Thieving Curse is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and it's slightly different. So instead of the love interest being a beast, although he is technically a beast, but he turns into a dragon. So yeah, that's really interesting. And yeah, it's really good. It definitely tackles things like about judging people's appearances, which I think is probably kind of obvious with being Beauty and the Beast, but it was really beautiful how they did that. The only thing, oh yeah, and I also was smiling for the majority of the book when it was just the non-heavy going fighting parts, because it was just so sweet. So the only thing is that there was, I say content, it wasn't really bad, it's more that, so basically there was a little bit of content, there was a character death, there's also a character who you do see in the second book. He does go through like a transformation, I guess, as a person in his heart and stuff. So this particular character in this book is really, really horrible, and normally I can handle that, but it was a lot of him being horrible at once, just after this character's death, so it was all basically together, and it was just a lot of really heavy going, quite distressing stuff, which normally I can handle that sort of stuff, but I think because he was just so horrible, it was just too much at once. There was no let up really, it was all just all at once. This character, because obviously, you know, it's Beauty and Beast retelling, there is very light magic stuff in the book, but not very much, because all it really is mainly the character who is the dragon beast character. So there wasn't actually any magic shown, other than if you want to count the transformation when he actually turns into a dragon and stuff like that. But this other character who is not very nice, he is told by his, he does have a magic stone as like a love potion type thing, and you are initially led to believe that he's going to make the female main character fall in love with him, and her reaction to it is, you know, our reaction to it as well. and that was quite distressing. Now, nothing actually happens from it, but because obviously you're with the character, you think it's going to happen. That was also quite distressing because she was very distressed about it, understandably. So yeah, just be aware of that. The love potion doesn't get used. There is no other magic involved that I can remember in that sort of way. Just alluded to, basically, because there's a character who can do some magic, even though that character isn't actually like a witch or a warlock or anything like that. So some of that was heavy going. I would say it's more for older teens and adults. I wouldn't want someone to be very young reading this, because it was a lot, and the character death was unexpected and unfair, and I wish it didn't happen. Those of you who've read it will know. But other than that, it is clean. There's no spice, there's no swearing, and stuff like that. So it is clean, but it does get heavy going in the last part of it. So just beware. But I really enjoyed it, and I would like to read the second book afterwards. Also, I love the cover. Beautiful. Okay. The next book is also a non-physical book, but this was an audio book, and I haven't written down the narrator, but I've written down the translator. So, the book, did I tell you I gave Stephen Curse 5 stars? Yeah, I did. So the next book is an audio book, and that is the Iliad by Homer, and this is a translated version of it that was translated by Edward the Earl of Derby, or Derby, not quite sure how you pronounce that one. And I gave the book 3 stars. So it was good, but as you guys will know if you've seen me talk about my audiobooks that I've read or listened to, I'm hard of hearing and I struggle to hear things, and again, I had issues with this book because of that. I think part of it is because I never took any time to listen to it with my headphones, which did help with the Odyssey, which I read. So the Iliad is actually the first book and the Odyssey is the sequel. So this one is about the fall of Troy, Helen of Troy, all of that. And I kind of, most of it just went over my head. And I think part of that is to do with the fact that it's a classic. So as you'll see from a book I will be talking about it later that's an audiobook, I didn't have any issues with it and I think it's because at least the classics I've read so far, a lot of them are very monotonous. There's not really any different inflections, there's not really much difference in characters, and a lot of those stories are very descriptive. There's not that many breaks of speech. And I think that's partly why I struggled with it, as well as the fact that I didn't listen to it on my headphones, because I just never had the chance to, do some colouring and listen to it on my headphones sort of thing. A lot of the time I was just listening to it out loud because I was showering or whatever. So that also would not have helped. I gave it a 3-star. It wasn't a bad book, and I would like to try it physically or ebook, either way with my eyes. But yeah, I just missed a lot of it. There were bits I caught. Again, there's loads of characters which does not help. Yeah, it was just a shame really, but yeah. There we go. There's not really much else to say on that one. I just gave it a 3-star, and hopefully I'll read it again at some point. So the next book is an ebook, and that is A Royal Masquerade by Alison Thibault. This is book 2 in the, I think it's called the Tales of Ambia series. I think that's the right one. And I gave this book 5 stars. It was hilarious. I laughed out loud so much with this book. It was ridiculous. And I loved it. So this is book 2 after A Reluctant Godfather, which is a Cinderella retelling. And A Royal Masquerade is a Goose Girl retelling, but instead of it focusing on the Goose Girl and those characters, it's more on what would be the side characters. So you're mainly focusing on two of the characters that you see in the first book, and that is the Godfather, Burndy, and also the prince who he's supposed to be his godfather for, which is Prince Colin. And basically it's them. It's just them. It's absolutely hilarious that so many things keep going wrong in the book that were just comical. It was just absolutely, it was way too funny. I loved the dynamic between Burndy and Colin, which you see more of in this book. Just absolutely brilliant. I loved it. And yeah, this series is a novella series, by the way. And yeah, I loved it. Yeah, I haven't really got much else to say to that one. Yeah, it was all fluffy and light. I loved that in the book. So yeah, and then the next one actually comes, well, it doesn't come after that. It's technically a prequel to A Royal Masquerade, and that is Poppy's Peril, which is the third book in the Tales of Ambia series. And this one I gave 4 stars. It's also an ebook. And this one is the Goose Girl retelling, but more the lead up to what happens in A Royal Masquerade. So Poppy's Peril basically describes, you know, how she ends up, you know, being the Goose Girl instead of the princess that she actually is. It gives her a bit more background on her personality and what she's like. Poppy is her name, although her full name's Penelope, but she prefers to go by Poppy. And yeah, it was a really good book. I thought it wasn't as good as The Royal Masquerade. It was still really good, but it wasn't as funny, I found. And I wasn't as interested because I already kind of knew what had happened. There was definitely things I learned, so it was definitely a good read. I don't know whether some people would prefer to read it second instead of third, but you don't have to. I don't think it matters too much either way. But yes, I did enjoy it though. Okay, the next book that I read is Oh Ye Jigs and Juleps, or Juleps, by Virginia Carey Hudson. This is a American classic, because it's an old book. I think it was written, well, it was written later than it actually happened. So it happened in the early 1900s, like 1904, something like that. But this actual book was written, I think, in like the 1960s. I might be wrong, 1950s. Let me check. I think it does tell us. I hope. Yeah, 1962. So, yeah. So definitely a classic. This was also hilarious. So what this is a collection of essays written by, I think, a 10-year-old girl. I think she's 10. It doesn't say, but she's a very young child in America. And she has been told to write some essays, I think to like a teacher of some sort. Yeah, to her teacher at her Episcopal boarding school. Episcopal, I can never say that word, because I want to keep saying it Episcopalian. And that might be what Episcopal is about, but I just can't say that word. But, but yeah, it's a collection of essays that she wrote for her teacher. They're very short essays. There's about, does it tell us how many there are? Here we go. Yeah, I think there's about 10 essays. And they're all on different topics, and it's absolutely hilarious. So, the topics she writes are about the sacraments, etiquette at church, gardening, education, everlasting life, spring, like the season, the library, personal appearance, an afternoon stroll, and China and religion. And just the things she writes are absolutely hilarious. You can tell that there are definitely things she talks about that she doesn't quite understand yet because she's a bit too young, and she's picked them up from like the adults in her life. and so she, you know, picks them up from what they've said or shown, but yeah, she doesn't necessarily understand them, and it's just so innocent, and she's so funny. There's like anecdotes as well. My favourite one is when she talks about playing with some friends, including like a 2-year-old, sorry, and they're they are reenacting doing like a baptism type of thing. And she basically the only one who volunteers is this 2-year-old who probably doesn't even realise they're volunteering. And basically she dips him in the barrel, but I think his nappy comes off and he just falls straight into what they're using for the baptism, which was a big barrel, I can't say it, a barrel of water. So there it is there's illustrations. And he just gets soaked. It's just so funny. And I bought this with my grandma in mind because I knew she would love this, and she started it. I'm going to give it back to her, and she was laughing so hard because she could also relate, especially to the baptism thing, because she didn't necessarily used to do the baptisms, but she used to hold a church service for her like dolls and toys. Oh yeah, but yeah, it's a really good book. I definitely recommend it. Yeah, just very silly. I gave it 5 stars. Yeah, really good, really good. Okay, so the next book will be coming at you in a minute. I'm gonna have a coffee first. Okay, and the next book is If the Boot Fits by Karen Wittemeyer. This is book 2 in the Texas Ever After trilogy, and these are fairy tale retellings. This is based on Cinderella, but it's gender swapped. So the Cinderella character is a man, and obviously the prince character is the quote-unquote princess. What's her name? Samantha. And the guy is Asher. And this is set in the 1800s in Texas, as the subtitle suggests. And so, yeah, this was a really good book. It's Christian fiction, obviously historical, as you can tell. And I gave it 5 stars. It was really good. It was funny again. It was really sweet. There's a lovely romance. There's faith content, like there's prayers. I can't remember if there's scriptures as well. I don't know, but there's definitely, characters talking to God and stuff like that. And it's really good. There's growth in this, which is always what we want, isn't it? Character growth. Yeah, and it's not completely fluffy. There is some harder things that happen. Quite surprisingly, actually, because what ends up happening is there's a mystery going on. Basically, Samantha, the girl, is being targeted for some reason. We don't know why at first. Obviously, we do end up finding out. And yeah, you're basically finding out why, because the things that are happening to her are getting more and more dangerous. And it turns out someone is trying to kill her. And you're like, well, why? What's going on? So there's a mystery going on. I'm trying to find out who the culprit is. And yeah, it's a beautiful book. There's also stuff to do with her mum as well. Her mum passes away before the start of this book. So it does tackle a little bit about grief and stuff like that. And Samantha definitely grows as a person. So at first she is a bit teenagery, I think is probably the word for it. She's a bit disrespectful to her dad, doesn't quite understand what he's doing, even though he's doing things because, he wants to look after her, he loves her, all of the good fatherly things that a father should be like. but he's just going about it in a way that she doesn't like, and in a way that I can understand. Yeah, I wouldn't want that either. Yeah, so there's definitely some misunderstanding going on. She does grow, she does start to understand him a bit more as well, which I loved, because I started to find it a bit grating, because I wasn't like that as a kid, or teenager, more accurately, because I think she's like 18 or something. And yeah, I found that bit frustrating, because I've had a really great relationship with my dad, so stuff like that, and it was just me being me. It was a really good book. I still gave it 5 stars, and she does grow as a person. She does start to see other people's points of views, because that was the issue. She wasn't really putting herself in her dad's shoes and imagining what she'd be like, sort of thing, in the situation that he's being put in as a single father. So yeah, a really good book. Loved it. It is book 2 in a series, but they're not, as far as I know, they're not actually connected. They're just in the same world, I guess, is what you would call it, because even though it's historical. So you don't have to read them in order. I do want to read the other books. Love this one. Really good book. Okay, the next book I'm talking about is another ebook, and that is The Princess Game by Melanie Sellier. This is a book I have been wanting to read for a whole year. This was on my TBR last February. And this book is the 4th book, I think. Yeah, 4th book. And this one is a Sleeping Beauty retelling. And it was fantastic. I gave it 5 stars. It was really, really interesting. So how they did it is, if you know the Sleeping Beauty story, you know, the Sleeping Beauty character Aurora, she gets cursed to die at the age of 16 by pricking her finger on a spinning wheel. But obviously the fairies, or, you know, whoever, you know, change the curse so she only sleeps. And then obviously the sleeping bit varies from either 100 years or just until her true love's kiss. And she's actually, you know, asleep, sort of thing. But in this book, she's not actually asleep in a literal, you know, snoring sleep, like you're welcome for those 2 snoring moments, but it's actually her intelligent side of her that's asleep, but it's only asleep towards the rest of the world when they see her as herself. So towards like her family and friends, you know, when she's around them and she's herself, sort of thing, she can't show that she has a more intelligent part of her. She has to play very kind of dumb, I guess, and very innocent and naive and very, what's the word, not placid, but very surface level, like she only cares about, you know, things like dresses and, you know, all the princessy sort of girly things that, you know, a lot of girls are like. But she can't show any depth or any intelligent thought. She can still think those things in her head, but she can't let them show on her face. Otherwise the curse that she has kind of makes her ill in some different ways, like maybe she gets a headache or stomach pain. Sometimes it's very crippling, and she ends up having to, certainly at the beginning of the curse, which you don't really see, but she does sometimes talk about, that, you know, she would be bedridden for a few days, sort of thing. Less like, it's not, she doesn't really get like that now, because we are about 2 years after that. So she's about 18, 19 years old in the book, and obviously the curse starts at 16, on her 16th birthday. But she can show her intelligent side if they don't know who she is. So there is another side of her where she covers up, you know, you can't see her face, and she's actually a spy master for her kingdom. And no one knows who she is, and she actually has a nod towards the Sleeping Beauty name, which is her alter ego, I guess is the name you'll call it, but her fake side of her, well, it's not fake, but the spy master part of her is called Aurora. And so when she is Aurora, she can be intelligent. She's very, quick on her feet. She can fight, because she was taught by one of her older brothers, and before the curse. She can't really show that normally, but as Aurora she can. She's very intelligent. And she ends up finding out that there's some sort of plot going on. She doesn't know what. She thinks it's a plot to overthrow the kingdom, to replace, her parents, stuff like that. And basically there's a mystery going on with that, and she has to find out what's going on. You also meet a couple of the characters from book 3. So you meet Marie, who is the main girl from book 3, which is, I can't remember what it's called, but it's the Rumpelstiltskin retelling. And she's the one who marries the main girls in this book's brother, Rafe. The main girl, what is her name? Celeste. Celeste's brother. And so you see both of them, and you see Marie's brother, who is something. What is his name? I don't know. I can't remember. But the three of them you see a little bit of in this book, more so the brother of Marie, because he ends up being the love interest. And that's not really a spoiler. It's a romance. Come on, guys. It's not that difficult. So, yeah. Yeah, it was really good. It was really exciting. The retelling part, the Sleeping Beauty, was really interesting. And yeah, it was really good. For those of you who don't know, Melanie Cellier, like Selena Arcangelo, is a Christian. There is allegory in these books, in the Four Kingdoms series and the spin-offs after them. There is allegory for the Christian faith. Some will have more than others. It just depends. Either way, they are definitely clean. The romance is clean. There's no spicy scenes or sexual content. There's no swearing. Stuff like that. It was really good. Yeah, really. And the romance was really sweet and swoony as well. Really good banter between, the female main character and the male main character. Really good. There's a twist. I called it. I called the twist, guys. Those of you who didn't, that's fine. I called it. I was suspicious of this character from the get-go. I was like, what is wrong with this guy? Or girl. Probably a bit late now. But anyway, I was suspicious of this person the entire time. I was like, this is weird. What is going on here? And also, some of it was a little bit annoying because she's like 19, 20, guys, okay? And she's not, because her Aurora is an alter ego, she has to hide this character of this part of her from her whole family and her friends. So she has no one to talk to when she's having these theories about things. So she jumps to conclusions without actually going through and actually looking for evidence. So she jumps at the chance of blaming this one person who she's been blaming the entire time for everything that's been going on, and without actually looking at other possibilities just in case. And that annoyed me. Now, part of it I can understand because she couldn't talk to someone else who had a bit more of a brain, apparently. So I could understand it a little bit, but it was a bit annoying. And in the end, she was told, and I was like, see, what did I tell you? Anyway, I didn't tell her anything. She's a character, but anyway, so she did get a little bit annoying with that stuff. But she found out in the end, and you do see some really beautiful growth with her through that, as well as through other things as well, because she holds a lot of hate in her heart for the person who cursed her, which understandable, but you need to let it go. So there's definitely some really beautiful allegory for that we Christians know about in terms of forgiveness that is shown in this book as well, which was beautiful. So yeah, it was a really good book. You might find the main character annoying sometimes, but just stick with it. She wasn't overly annoying. Like, she wasn't so annoying that I couldn't continue reading. So, yeah, loved it. Then, oh yes, this next book is my first 6-star. Amazing. It's so good. And those of you who know, you already know. But I'm going to make you wait whilst I have a drink. You will be waiting long because editing, but anyway. Also, it's not that long because I'm just taking a sip of coffee. But anyway. So, oh, yay. This next book, I love it so much. So, this next book is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Yeah, Andy Weir. And it was a 6-star read, guys. It was so good. I listened to this on Audible. It was so good. Oh, I have no words. Well, I do have words, but I have no words. I absolutely loved it. Like with A Royal Masquerade, where I was laughing out loud all the time, I was having this with Project Hail Mary. It is absolutely hilarious. It is way too funny to exist, which isn't true because it does exist, but still, it's so funny. Absolutely love it. So this is a sci-fi. It's about essentially trying to stop the end of the world. So the sun is dying, I think, and they are trying to find a way to kind of stop that, you know, because otherwise we'll end up in an Ice Age 3. And whilst I love Sid from Ice Age, I don't think we want an Ice Age 3. Not like the movies. So, yes. And to tackle that, a selection of scientists, astronaut-y type people, go into space. And I can't remember what planet they go to. Can't remember, but that's fine. Because they also go to other places in the end, so it's not a big deal. Well, it's a big deal, but anyway, yes. You basically start the book with the main character, Dr. Grace, whose first name I keep forgetting. He wakes up on the spaceship, and you basically go through him kind of waking up from a coma of sorts, basically, so that, you know, he can try and save the world. And you basically go back and forwards to that present day and a few years in the past. I'm not quite sure how many, from like when you first hear about the sun dying all the way to, you know, him being put onto the spaceship, basically. And you kind of go back and forth, and it's kind of done in a way where it's his memories coming back to him. So, you know, I can't describe it. But anyway, it goes back and forth. So if you don't like that, you might not like this book. But I think you should read it. I think you should anyway, because it is fantastic. The science isn't too difficult to understand. Even if you don't understand it, it doesn't make you feel like, what is the point in me reading this? Or I feel overwhelmed or anything like that. It's kind of like Doctor Who in a way, where it's kind of sciencey, but it's not like you're reading an Arthur C. Clarke book, for example. I don't know how hard his books are to read. I've never read them. But I know he's a classic sci-fi author, which is why I'm mentioning him. But yes, it was so good. And it was... yeah, it was really exciting. It was really sweet. There's a really, really sweet friendship. Beautiful friendship. It was really interesting with all the science things and trying to save the world. And yeah, it was just really funny. And surprisingly, I remember the swear words. There was only 2 in the entire book. And it's not a small book. I don't know how big the book is because I listened to it. But the audiobook was like over 10 hours long, I think. So it was a decent sized book. And yeah, the rest of the time, well, the first time, you can understand it. So when people talk about, oh, I don't really like swearing, but if there's a reason for it and a really legitimate one, and it's just random, like say a really shock factor sort of thing, it makes sense, even if you still don't like it, because that doesn't mean you have to like it. That is what happened in this book, especially with the first one, because something incredibly shocking and just kind of scary a little bit. I wouldn't say it's scary, but you don't know what's going on and you don't know what's going to happen, so it's kind of scary like that, but I wouldn't say it's scary. But he swears, and I think he says the F word, I think, and that was it. The rest of the time, he's just like, you know, using gosh, oh my goodness, that sort of stuff. And it's really cute. It's what made me love the character more, because he's just so adorable, and I was like, oh, I love him so much. Because of like, it just, I loved it. So yeah, there was only 2 swear words in the whole book. The rest of the time, and they were quite far apart, so it's not like you're being bombarded. I mean, there's only 2 anyway. So I would say, even if you don't like swearing, I would say still read this, because they're not really, it's not a book for swearing in, really. It's just those 2 instances. But it's a brilliant book. Now, I read this because of the film, and I want to tell you that if you've not read this book, but you're not sure, and you're not sure about Ryan Gosling, I would do it, because I think he would be a perfect fit. Because reading this book, so I already knew Ryan Gosling was going to play, well, not play, but, you know, be Dr. Grace in the film. And I could see him in the book, and not just because I was aware he was going to be in it, and that was part of it, because like, oh, in book more in it, oh, I wonder whether I can see Ryan Gosling in this character. And I can. Because even if all you've seen is Barbie with him in it, he's very like that, this character. He's very just, I can't even describe it. He's just really fun, I guess, even though it's not, I mean, it's a fun book, but I mean, the topic's not that fun either, you know what I mean. But I just think he's perfect for it. So I'm really excited about the film now as well. And I cried a lot at the end of the book. Those of you who've read it will know. But I also had mixed feelings, because I was like, why would you do this? This does not make sense. It's not logical. But at the same time, it sort of is. Because also you don't know what it would be like. So like, I'm trying to say it without saying it. But those of you who know, you know what I'm saying. I loved it. It was fantastic. Brilliant book. 10 out of 10. 6 stars. You need to read the book. The audiobook was fantastic. I thought it was really good. The voice actor was really good as well. So yeah, either way, give it a read. I loved it. And then I have 2 more books to go. One is planned. The other is not. So the last book that was actually planned is Alice with a Y, Return to Wonderland by Anna James. And if you recognise the name Anna James, she writes the Pages and Co series. And this is a very short book, more like a novella. And this is kind of like a sequel of sorts to the original Alice in Wonderland and obviously Alice Through the Looking Glass books. So this is set in the future. This is set just after World War One. So the original Alice from the original Alice in Wonderland is a grandma. You don't really know how old she is, but the granddaughter is like 10 or something. And you are following the granddaughter, who is also called Alice. But Alice with a Y, because it's A-L-Y-C-E. Weird spelling, but there we go. So they do kind of play with that, with how confusing that is. But it's not that confusing, I don't think. I mean, if you're a younger kid, maybe, because obviously it is a children's middle grade book. But I really enjoyed it. It was a really emotional book, because at the start of the book, you find out that the young Alice, her father dies in the war, and her father is the original Alice's son. And so, yeah, basically what happens is something is going on in Wonderland, and the original Alice is invited by the Mad Hatter and the March Hare and the Dormouse from the original books to come back to Wonderland and to try and save Wonderland. However, something goes wrong and the invitation gets sent to Little Alice instead. Or as they call her, the wrong Alice. Very nice, yes. But yes. And you basically see her adventures in Wonderland. It's very reminiscent. It's kind of mirroring the war that had just been happening in World War One. So there's a war going on in Wonderland, but in Wonderland it is a war between what is he? The Sun King and the Queen of the Moon, because the Sun King has stolen her hour. And I think, I haven't checked this, but I do remember my grandpa, who was born in the 1930s, talking about how actually, you know what, ignore all that. Because they did try and not do the whole, forwards and backwards with the hours for a year to see how that worked, and it all went wrong. That's what the war in Wonderland reminds me of. But it's a bit too early, so I don't think it's connected to that at all. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. Anyway, it was really good. You see some of the original characters from the original books. Obviously, the Mad Hatter trio that I've already mentioned. You do meet the Duchess. I think it's just those. Oh, you also meet the White Rabbit, but only briefly. And so, yeah, you basically see Alice try and find someone to stop the war in Wonderland. Really good book. It was funny. It was also emotional because it's not mentioned, but there's a character in this who is a fox, Sailor Fox. Oh, you also see the Cheshire Cat, by the way. And he is guiding Alice through Wonderland, and he definitely reminds me of a father character. And there are clues, when you read this book, there are clues that would make you as an adult anyway think, oh, maybe he is based on her father. And I'm going to leave it at that, because I think he is. I think it's kind of like a children's sort of coming to terms with grief. Sorry. Come to terms with grief, letting your loved ones go and moving on. Try not to cry, because it was her dad, and obviously, lost my dad a couple of years ago, this July. So it kind of reminds me of that. There's nothing said about it, but that's what I got from it. But yeah, really good book. And also, what was really cool about it is that if you were a child who hadn't read the original Alice in Wonderland, there's also a book another book mentioned in that's by Anna James. But there's also after that, there's also an excerpt from the original Alice in Wonderland. I think it's literally just the first chapter or something. Oh no, it's not. So it's the first 3 chapters of the original Alice in Wonderland book as well. So that's really cool. It's a good introduction for the young kids who've not read it, because you don't really need to have read Alice in Wonderland. It's better if you do, because you appreciate, seeing the characters again, but you don't need to. It's not that important for it. So yeah, it was a really good book. I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it a 5-star or 4-star. I can't quite remember now. It was a 4 or 5-star. I've not written it down in my reading journal yet. So when I edit this, I'll confirm which one it is, because I can't remember. And the final book of February / the first couple of days of March is Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. Finally read it, and I tentatively say finally because I am destroyed. Just finished this last night. I was literally up till about 4 a.m. finishing this, because I had like 100 pages left. Well, I had more than that initially during the day. But anyway, I wanted to just finish this so I could get on with my middle grade children's books for March. Oh boy, this book. Okay, this book. Yeah, this book. Guys, this book. Those of you who've read it, you know what I'm talking about. I have no words. I am destroyed. I am as dead as the characters in this. I am broken. I mean, oh my gosh. This was harder than any of the other books in this series. I'm just saying, I really think it is. The other books weren't exactly easy to read either, but this was even harder. I wouldn't recommend this for too young of a teenager. I would say older teens and adults, because there is a lot of hard-hitting deaths in this book. There's some things that are mildly described that are definitely not appropriate for young children, I would say. If you know sort of thing. Definitely lost my head with those. Pun very much intended. If you know, that's what I'm talking about. And yeah, it was soul destroying. And I cried so much that I still feel puffy. I don't know if you can tell. In this camera, I have no idea. I can't see myself very well because my brightness is on quite low. And it's quite sunny at the moment, which is very nice. I have no words. You see some of the characters that you see in the later Hunger Games, mainly in Catching Fire. You meet Max and Wiress, obviously Haymitch, because this is Haymitch's story. See Effie a little bit as well, which was really interesting. Yeah, I cried so much. Oh my goodness, I cried so much. This book, oh my goodness, this book really shows just how old President Snow is in the Hunger Games trilogy, because Snow in the Hunger Games trilogy, he is soft as a cuddly toy. He, like, Snow in this is like, what? Because Snow in this, he's probably late 40s and his 50s. Because obviously this is the, I don't know, which court quell is it? Is it the 20 years? I don't know. But anyway, it's the quarter quell anyway. And you get twice as many tributes. So you get 4 instead of 2. So yeah, it's really sad. Really, really sad. Just, I mean, there were funny moments, okay? I will say that. There were definitely times where I laughed. Mainly with one of the characters, Maisie, because she is an absolute savage. Oh, she's amazing. You know when people use the phrase, oh, something looks good on this person, and it's usually that, an experience that they're going through. Like, the Hunger Games looked good on Maisie. I'm telling you, she blossomed in this. You definitely see a really different side to her, because you see a little bit of before, and she's not a very nice teenager, and you definitely see her blossom in this book, and that was beautiful. You see Haymitch. Oh, Haymitch. Haymitch goes through the ringer in this book. I mean, oh my goodness. I need to stop talking about this because I'm just going to keep repeating myself, because also I don't want to say too much. Because, oh my goodness, just trigger warnings, guys, for death, mainly. I don't remember there being any actual swearing. There might have been uses of maybe God's name in vain, which I usually just read over or switch out for something else. But this book is so incredibly sad. Now, even before reading this book, because I knew Haymitch was in the Hunger Games, as a teenager, even without knowing what had actually happened, him being a drunk as an adult, I mean, you can't say you can blame him. Then you read this book, And then you're like, oh my goodness, I think I'm going to start drinking after reading this. And that's just reading it. Like, that's not even actually being the characters. So, yeah, I'm not going to start drinking, guys. You don't need to worry. That would be a stupid thing to start doing over characters. But still, you can really understand it even more why Haymitch was. It's made me love Haymitch even more. I already loved him. He was one of my favourite characters. Oh, beautiful book. I'm still yet to decide whether to give it a 6-star or not. It's definitely a 5-star. That goes without saying. Oh, I gave myself a headache after reading this book. I've got a headache today from crying so much. Just, whew. Beautiful book. Destroying, but beautiful. I am dead now, okay? This is a ghost. Just saying. Not sure if I'm ready to watch the film. I am. I'm really excited to watch it because I'm interested to see how they do it in the films. Those of you who've read the book will know because it's very heavy going. And I'm like, how much are they actually going to show in the film? Because also I don't know what the age is going to be for the film. You know, when they have like PG, 18 or is it R for you in America, like restricted or whatever? I can't remember what it is for you guys. We have numbers, so I don't know. Yeah, I am going to need a whole box of tissues, I think, when I go and see that film. I'm just saying. Also, the ending, like, when with Katniss, and you find out why he gives her the nickname, why he would keep calling her that, and you find out why in this book. It made me die even more. I'm already dead. I mean, I just need to stop talking about it. Because when I tell you I am not going to stop, I mean it. Don't know why I gasped then. I do know why. I don't even know what it is. It happens sometimes. Anyway. Yeah. That was soul destroying. So, let's go into my yearly challenges and readathons. So I'm going to start with the challenges first. So for Santel's Read Your Bookshelf challenge, it was 3 or more objects on the cover. I went for If the Boot Fits by Karen Rittermeyer because there are 3 or more objects. Christian Fiction challenge. So, you know what? I can use my journal, can't I? Because I have them. I think I'm caught up. Yes, I am. So I was a little bit behind with the Christian fiction because I didn't have any in January. So I technically doubled up, not with the books, they were different books. But anyway, the books I used for Christian fiction are in a series, and I used A Royal Masquerade by Alison Tebow for that one. And then for Free Space, I used A Thieving Curse by Selena R. Gonzalez. Then for Jurassic Reading Challenge, February was part of a trilogy, and I used If the Boot Fits for that because it's book 2 in a trilogy. And then for Anne's Reading the Classic 1776 edition, I used February was A Funny Classic, and I used Oh, Ye Jigs and Juleps by Virginia Carey Hudson. We do Winnie the Pooh, that Katie from Paperback and Ponytails is doing. I did a lot. So, the first one is, I'm going to go for is novella. I used Poppy's Peril for that one because that is a novella. Then I used Mood Read, and I used A Thieving Curse for that one because that technically wasn't on my TBR. That was a mood read. Then I used A Royal Masquerade for Read at Night because I did read some of that at night. And then a book from my own TBR, I used Battlefield of the Mind by Joyce Meyer. And then Nature on the Cover, I used If the Boot Fits by Karen Whittemire because it's outside and there's lots of nature. And then I used 2 or more people on the cover, and I used Oye Jigs and Juleps because there's 3 people on the cover. So that is that one. Then for Alma's Journey Through Time challenge, for historical fiction, it is romance for February, and I used If the Boot Fits for that because it's my only historical that is a romance. Then I've got Oceana's Read Christian Romance. The Christian fiction one was cage-free, by the way. I can't remember if I mentioned that. So for Oceana's Read Christian Romance, I used In a Series for Poppy's Peril. And then I used Wanted to Read A Thieving Curse. And then we also have Oceana's Francine Rivers Readalong. I did not read The Lady's Man for February. Then for Cat Stories, it was the Biblical Reading and Retelling Challenge. And for February, it was also Love. And I used Song of Solomon. I went very typical love for the romance poem. And that was really good, I guess. It was fun. Then, that is all my yearly readathons, or challenges. Now it is time for Once Upon a Faebruary. So, Once Upon a Faebruary is pretty obvious when you think about it. It's a fairy tale retelling readathon, but you don't actually have to read them. And it's your typical, 9 prompt bingo board. And I completed it. On my journal I haven't, but I have. If you are on my Instagram, you'll know that. So let's go through which ones. I can't always see what they are, so I can't quite remember what the prompts are. But first I'll tell you who the hosts are. So the host and I can't talk. The creator of Once Upon a Faebruary is Taylor from Tales and Tweets with Tay, and her co-hosts are Celestia from Celestia, Katie from Paperbacks and Ponytails, Christy from Christy A. Cole, Kat from Cat Stories, and Reese from The Writing Songbird. Now, what are these prompts? That's a good question. Actually, I have last year's ones from 2024, so I can use those, and then even though there's one that's changed, I can just make sure I change that one. Hopefully I'll remember which one that is when I do, but anyway. So the first one is, the first prompt is, has a journey, and that could be anything, that could be literal or like character growth, etc. And I use Poppy's Peril for that one. That has multiple journeys in that. It's got a literal journey as well as a personality journey. Then we have Has an Animal, and I used A Royal Masquerade by Alison Tebow. Both of these are by Alison Tebow actually, because there's animals, there's a goose on the cover because it's a Goose Girl retelling, and also one of the characters gets turned into an animal, and I will leave it at that. You should read the book and find out how that happened and who. And then the next one is a new to you author, and I used A Thieving Curse by Selena R. Gonzalez for that because I've not read from her before. And then the next one is your favourite genre, and again, I have lots of favourite genres, so in the end I used Alice with a Y by Anna James because I like middle grade, I like retellings, I like historical, I like funny. This ticks all the sorts of prompts, so I used that one. Then the middle one is then the middle one, which I think is the free space, is the Iliad by Homer, because free space. You don't have to use all of them as with fairy tale retellings, but I think to be able to enter into the giveaway, I think you need at least one fairy tale retelling, if I'm remembering that correctly. Then we've got, I think the next one has a subtitle, and I used If the Boot Fits by Karen Whittemire for that one because it has a subtitle of Texas Ever After, which is the series title. Then we have Something Beautiful, and I used Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir for that one, because the friendship that you see is beautiful. Then we have a content creator recommendation, and I used OE Jigs and Juleps for that one because Anne from In Search of Wonder recommended this as a funny book to read for the funny book prompt for February if you wanted to read it. There were others too, that's the one I picked. And then the last one was meant to read last year, and I used The Princess Game by Melanie Cellier for that one because it was literally on my TBR for the last Faebruary Readathon. So that is all of those. I have done everything. I've done all of the readathons, all of the yearly challenges. Yes. So that is everything, I think. I don't have much else to talk about. I know I talked about Song of Solomon. I don't really have much to say on that one in terms of what I got out of it. I know a lot of people say it's kind of, you could see God's love in that, and I'm like, well, yeah, but it's a bit, I wouldn't really say it is really. I mean, sure, it has like themes, with God's love, but I mean, it's definitely very much a human love as well for a relationship, because, I don't think God's going to talk about our breasts for us women in quite that same way. So, but it's definitely something to live up for. It's definitely in a relationship, if you don't have one, that's your, mutual love and respect, wanting the same things, both being, at least for us after the cross, Christians, stuff like that. So it's definitely a beautiful book. Well, I think that's it. There's no other books that I've read. So I will leave you to it. How did you do for February? Did you read any romance books? Did you join in with the Faebruary Readathon? Did you do any of the yearly challenges? And if you are doing cat stories as biblical retelling or biblical books, let me know what you read for that. I'd be interested to know. Because I did consider maybe reading the book that I love in the Bible, but usually I kind of already did that in January for the Give Me Jesus challenge, where I read the book of Esther because that is one of my favourites, it's one I love. So I didn't really want to do that again. So I thought, why don't I just stick with a love poem? I mean, it's simple, isn't it? And reasonably quick, so that's always a plus for me. So yes, let me know how you did. Let me know how your February went. And yes, thank you for watching. I love you all. So does God. Woohoo! Excuse me. And yes, I will see you all next week. Excuse me. God bless. And goodbye.